My guys, this is video number 200. I want you to understand this is video number 200. This is not one milestone, this is a second milestone for me. It's funny because my milestones are not really likes and comments. My milestones are how many things can I actually produce. The goal is to empty everything that's here so that it comes out naturally when the conversation is had. So I chose this video. This, all right? Here, explaining to yourself. I wrote that as a note because what I was doing at that point is explaining to myself something in my head, and then I stopped and I decided to write it down. Me explaining to Tariq, which is me, or me letting Tariq figure it out. People that read and understand fully are ones that are in tune with themselves, the ones that allow their mind to do its thing. So it goes back to the thing that I said once before, many times before actually. Human beings do not really think. What human beings do is get involved, get in the way of any thought process that was happening. And if we go to meditation and how people explain meditation, it's the simplest thing as like take a deep breath, focus on your breath and observe your thoughts. What do they mean by that? I think what they want to show us is the fact like if you notice your body is breathing on your own. And then if you notice as well, your mind is breathing on it, is thinking on its own. Now I've said this before, I'm going to explain it more right now. When it comes to our thought process, all we have to do is put our intention in. What are the things that we want? If our intention is fear, our mind's going to get us all the stuff to be afraid of. If our intention is growth, it's going to give us all the stuff of growth. If our intention is aggression, it's going to come out. And notice our intention is swayed by emotions, right? It's swayed by like things that happen. And that's where you kind of like become more of yourself. You understand more yourself. You understand more what's triggering you and you get over it slow and steady. You kind of purify that intention of yours into exactly what you want. I want to find love. I want to travel. And with that, steps, one step at a time. I want to buy a house. I want to go have lunch. I want to build a restaurant. I want to build a platform. I want to change the fucking world. All of these are kind of like things we're intent on, if that's really what we want. And every time we're approaching things when it comes to thoughts, the minute we involve ourselves in the thought process, normally are the times where we kind of like sway from the actual way. That rhymed. But the end result is really something that we don't know. What we're doing is watching our mind compile things, take all the things that make sense and put them somewhere, and the things that don't make sense, remove them. It's the forefront of your brain. And ultimately, as we engage with our thoughts, what we're doing is literally allowing them space to play in our head, allowing them a way to kind of like discover, figure out stuff. And if they're stuck, that's when you get in and you experiment with something. Because when you're experimenting, what effectively you're outputting what you already know. But that output is kind of engaging in a completely different sense of input, right? You're building on top of what you have already theorized. But it's not you, it's your mind. Your mind is doing all of that. You're just watching how your mind is kind of like objectively analyzing stuff and assessing stuff. So a lot of people talk about training your mind. A lot of people talk about like engaging with your mind. And a lot of people talk about how you could actually reprogram your brain, your mind and stuff like this. As for now, anytime I try to think of something, it'll take me 1 to 2 weeks to figure something out. But the days I accept failure as they are the days that everything in my head clears. Because the minute I accept failure, I take a step back. And then my mind does its own thing simply because I am too ashamed of myself to step in. And if anything, I would look at these 200 videos as a certain success. But maybe I should ask myself the questions that I did in the previous video. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. What if after 200 videos, I have not succeeded the way I wanted, which means I have failed in a way? And this note speaks about it perfectly. Me explaining to Tariq or me letting Tariq figure it out. As in, am I explaining something to myself when I'm reading or when I'm exploring? Or am I just allowing this mechanism to figure something out? One is me being involved, and the other one is me not being involved at all. And again, it's funny because, like, even when I'm reading something, when I'm rushing to finish, I don't actually get it done. I don't understand it fully. I'm cocky enough to believe that I did good, but I don't. And I was thinking of this note when I was at one point I made a rule to myself. It's like anything I do, I have to read 3 times. And the first time I read it, I don't really understand what I'm reading, but at least I have a point system in my head that kind of like, okay, so these are the things that it talks about briefly. And the second time I read it, it goes different. But then I have a friend of mine, the minute he reads something, he just completely comprehends it and understands it. And he can make decisions out of it. That's frustrating for me. And that's frustrating for me because I want to be that way. But then I look at him and he's been he's been reading for a lot more than I do, so his experience is more in that. And when I ask him, "What do you do when you read?" He goes, "Like I just read, and when I finish something, I go to something else." While I started thinking when I'm reading or learning something, the first thing I'm doing is kind of like rushing of how I would apply it, or rushing to see what I would do with it, or just excited to see where it goes with me, which kills the entire vibe of it's not giving it the time it deserves, it needs. It feels like there's always something around me that's rushing me to do something. There's always this something around me that's rushing me to kind of like finish something and be good at it. And even these 200 videos, it feels like I've been pressuring myself to every day do a couple of them and then post them every other day, or every day I post 2 videos, pushing to actually flush something out. People that read and understand fully are the ones that are in tune with themselves. I guess what I meant by that is what I'm reading, and what I'm not reading, I'm not reading. I don't see that as a part of me. And I think a lot of people don't really have that connection with themselves because that's a skill you have to unlock. Everything in life is a skill, man. When you're recently born, the only thing that you're born with that's not really a skill. And the Tao talks about it. The Tao talks about the baby could cry all day and all night and it would never kind of like lose its voice. Why? Because like everything in us is designed to operate perfectly. It's our involvement that kind of like screws it. It's our involvement that screws it. Everything. Even the Tao talks about this. Wow, so my mind is kind of like going crazy right now, or just kind of like finding a certain peace. So how I explain it, people that read and understand are the ones are fully are understand properly what they're reading, are the ones that are in tune with themselves, or ones that allow their mind to do its thing. So to be in tune with yourself is to actually allow to trust yourself fully, to be able to be the observer as your body, as your voice, as your mind do these things. And if I were to go back to what Eckhart Tolle once said, like we're always present. I don't think it's Eckhart Tolle, actually, no. But like we're always present when we're alone, and when we're with people, we're no longer present. But if we were to look at ourselves in a more confident and in tune way, then when we're around people and we're just watching, we're able to watch ourselves do their thing, then you kind of have found harmony with yourself and your surroundings. Look at this. I wrote a note that I was explaining to myself something. And I was wondering if I was explaining it to me or I was like letting myself figure it out. So I was either explaining it to me or I had me explaining it to myself. Me explaining it, me explaining it to Tariq is me reading and me translating what I'm reading in images and visions and stuff like this so that my mind could accept it. Because I think my mind is actually the structure that people interact with, the interface. The body is the interface, the mind is the experience. And if I were to go the other way around, is me allowing my mind to do its thing, and then me trusting completely that the minute that's done, the mind sets things up the way it's supposed to in order to like harmonize with me and my intention. I think from now on, I'm gonna start basically. If there's time that needs to be spent on something, I need to spend it fully in order for me to explore how my mind observe how my mind facilitates information, knowledge, and understanding to me, so that I would be able to achieve my goals. Fucking amazing. Video number 200. Wow. Thank you guys.